Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your service. Let me just say this about sequestration. When I think about the failure of this Congress and this government to deal with this, I look in the mirror and I take my share of the responsibility. One thing that hasn't been said is that the reason we got to sequestration to start with is that there's 2/3 of American spending that's on autopilot. It's very popular programs, the entitlement programs, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and of course interest on the debt. And sequestration was meant to focus us on that 2/3 of the budget that we don't deal with every year. We have been unwilling politically to do that on both sides of the aisle, and until we do that, we're not going to really be able to get back to the problem that got us to sequestration to start with. But let me talk about something, Secretary Mattis, that might save us a good deal of money, and that is multi-year procurement authority, which is assumed in your budget proposals for destroyers, fast attack submarines, and V-22 aircraft. It's my understanding that the Cost Assessment and Program Evaluation Office, or CAPE, that the Navy and OMB all agree that savings would be significant if we go with multi-year procurement authority, but we lack at this point a preliminary determination to begin to implement this. A final determination can come later, but we need the preliminary determination. So are you aware of this situation, Secretary Mattis? Do you agree that the assumption in your budget is correct and that this will save money, and can you help us on this?
Senator, I have no doubt it would save money to have multi-year procurement, especially of things that take a lot of steel, a lot of equipment to build. The economies of scale allow for enormous savings. We would have to have a repeal of the BCA Act in order to give the confidence to industry they can buy that stuff and it won't sit in the shipyard when funding dries up the next year. So again, we come right back around to the very thing the chairman and the ranking member have just been discussing about what BCA does to us. It removes the chance for even wise investment of the money you give us, sir.
Okay, but at this point, the immediate situation is that I need you to commit to this committee that you'll intervene to ensure that we get the preliminary determination necessary to move us forward at that point. We don't need to repeal BCA to get that done. Will you help us on that?
We will help you. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, let me ask you in the remaining time, I appreciate what has been said about winning in Afghanistan. Now, I notice over the last few days, a group of my colleagues have advocated it's been too long. We need to look at the timetable. A decade and a half is too much. We just need to pull out and let Afghanistan take care of itself. What is your and let me just say, I think that would be a massive mistake, which would affect security of Americans. I hope you agree with that. So if you could comment on that, but also define for us what winning in Afghanistan means, and if we're successful there and have a follow-on force that's not involved in combat, much as we have had for 70 years in Europe and a long, long time in South Korea, that would be certainly something that I could live with. But if you'd comment on that in the time remaining.
You're correct that to walk away from this, we've already seen what can come out of these kind of spaces, these ungoverned spaces. The problems that originate there do not stay there. They come out, they threaten all of us, they threaten the world order, they threaten our economy, they threaten our very country. As far as what does winning look like, the Afghan government and with international help will be able to handle the violence, drive it down to a level that local security forces can handle it. And with our allies, it would probably require a residual force doing training and maintaining the high-end capability so that the threats, as they, should they mature, we can take them down and keep this at a level of threat that the local government and the local security forces can handle. It's going to be an era of frequent skirmishing, and it's going to require a change in our approach from the last several years if we're to get it to that position.
Do the people of Afghanistan want us there?
There's no doubt the majority do, sir. The reason the Taliban and Haqqani use bombs is because they cannot win at the ballot box, and they know that. And the people do want us there, and that's based on Loya Jirga outcome. That's the rather large assembly of local and provincial and national level leaders. Plus, it's based on polls not run by the United States, but by other organizations. And I have no doubt the majority want us there. Not all of them do, but the ones who don't are not the ones who are looking forward to Afghanistan's future as we think that it ought to look, we and the Afghan people.
Thank you, sir.